Hi, this is Arnaud Delapierre. For our meeting today, we are going to shine the spotlight on Bill Ackman, an American investor who garnered a lot of attention during the initial period of the COVID-19 crisis. His fund pulled off a bold move, significantly impacting the financial world. I wonder how he managed such a spectacular performance. Get ready to learn more, because I'm going to tell you all about it. We are going to review his background, his motivations, and especially the tactic that allowed him to come out ahead in an unstable economic situation. Bill Ackman is the founder of Pershing Square Capital Management, an investment fund based in New York. Known for his strong positions on certain companies, he has often made headlines in financial media with spectacular bets. Before the health crisis, he was already famous for his aggressive commitments, whether on restaurant chains or fitness platforms. When the COVID-19 storm erupted, Ackman sensed that the markets would panic. That's when he took an unusual position by buying protective financial instruments, betting on a sharp drop in stocks and bonds related to companies. His idea was based on an insurance mechanism often called CDS for credit default swap. Basically, this contract allows protection against the risk of a company's default. The more the markets become nervous, the more the value of this kind of contract rises. Ackman thus placed approximately $27 million on these securities, derivatives, expecting that panic would set in and that investors would begin to doubt the solidity of many companies. The bet paid off when the crisis caused markets to fall, and the value of these credit default swaps increased significantly. I'll make a small digression. We'll continue with this gentleman right after to recommend the Notrade app. It's available on iOS and Android, free and very convenient for receiving trading signals directly on your phone. It's very intuitive to use, and you can set up personalized alerts so you don't miss any opportunities. Stock market, crypto, absolutely everything. You even have access to a community of users who share analyses. If you're looking for a simple way to track market fluctuations and spot trends, it's a tool to try. It tells you when to buy, when to sell, when to do nothing. And since it's free, it costs nothing to try it out and take a look. Let's get back to our main topic. The initial investment of approximately $27 million turned into a capital gain of approximately, $2.6 billion. A phenomenal gain in just a few weeks. The recovered amount was then reinvested in stocks that had severely dropped due to the pandemic. Ackman believed that some companies had strong fundamentals, even in this economic climate. Morose. He was thus able to snap up shares at low prices, betting on a medium-term recovery. This combination of protection before the storm, then buying back shares, enhanced the investor's reputation in the eyes of the financial sphere. Amidst all this, Bill Ackman also made a notable appearance on CNBC, urging the White House to take strong measures to curb the virus's spread. These remarks were sometimes considered alarmist, but they clearly attracted attention. Some saw it as a form of manipulation aimed at increasing the existing panic and therefore boosting the value of his positions further. Others praised his warning, seeing it as a call to reason. In any case, this public speech has enhanced Ackman's notoriety and his status as an investor to watch. This strategy has also raised many criticisms, of course. Some believe he took advantage of the global distress and deliberately heightened the prevailing fear to inflate his own position. Some, or others, remind us that in finance, anticipating cycles is the foundation of the profession, and that this kind of operation only illustrates the responsiveness of a savvy investor. It must be said that Ackman wasn't new to this. He had already experienced very significant and spectacular gains and notable failures in the past. The debate on the exact role in the market collapse remains open. To understand Ackman's mentality, It is important to know that he often presents himself as a conviction investor, far from simple, impulsive trading. When he believes in an idea, he goes for it, completely. This approach is reflected in his track record, where he has regularly bet large sums on specific scenarios, whether in short selling or massive purchases. In the case of the COVID-19 crisis, he highlighted that a health event could trigger a gigantic stock market frenzy. His ability to keep a cool head and make quick decisions served him well in this situation. Several lessons can be learned from this financial adventure. First, implementing a hedge can prove very profitable when markets are at their peak and fear begins to set in. Next, public communication is an extremely powerful lever. A simple media statement can redefine a group's investor sentiment. Finally, the ability to quickly reinvest the freed up cash can make all the difference. Ackman knew how to combine these elements to achieve a historic profit. In this situation, this operation allowed him to strengthen his image as a bold player, always in search of opportunities, one might say unique. Timing was fundamental in this story. Ackman bought his credit default swaps just before the widespread lockdown and the closure of multiple sectors. When the prices plummeted, the value of his contracts skyrocketed. He then cashed in this capital gain to use it as a treasure of war, ready to be injected into companies he considered undervalued. This responsiveness astonished many observers, convinced that no one could predict so precisely the extent of the crisis. In fact, Ackman himself admitted to being surprised by the speed of the collapse, but his method allowed him to emerge winner. Other hedge fund giants also sensed the change and bet on bearish scenarios, but few reached the extent of Ackman's success. Some observers point out that it was his boldness combined with strategic flair that tipped the situation in his favor. He did not just wait for a rebound. On the contrary, he took advantage of the situation by buying beaten down securities. This dual approach, protection followed by offensive investment, illustrates how a strategy can unfold on multiple fronts. Nothing was left to chance, and the result is, we can say, mind-blowing. It's also important to keep in mind the level of risk in this kind of operation. Betting against a booming market can prove costly if nothing goes as planned. Ackman could have lost his entire stake if the pandemic hadn't caused the collapse. It is this calculated risk-taking that characterizes the big names in finance. They accept the possibility of to deceive, but they also prepare to strike very hard when their hypotheses materialize. Besides, Ackman has experienced notable failures in the past, which did not prevent him from retrying his luck. After this success, Ackman remained cautious in his statements. He reinvested in sectors like hospitality, restaurants, and finance, convinced that the recovery would eventually restore the level of activity. Some of his new positions then experienced strong growth, further fueling the legend around his intuition. However, this notoriety comes with a form of pressure. Every move is scrutinized by the media and investors, being, I want to say, come on, accompanied by such an achievement can generate high expectations. And it's not always easy to replicate a similar feat in a changing environment. If we analyze Ackman's journey, we see that he favored a simple logic, taking advantage of an asymmetry between risk and reward. His CDS cost relatively little, but could yield enormously if the market turned around. Then, this financial windfall allowed him to buy graded stocks, betting on the long-term solidity of certain brands. No doubt he was either visionary or very lucky, or perhaps a bit of both. This case reminds us that in investing, preparation and the ability to act promptly, yes, promptly as we say in French, can change the outcome, even when the prospects seem bleak. In conclusion, this is how Bill Ackman managed to stand out during the health crisis turmoil. His bet on credit default swaps amazed observers, and his quick reinvestment raised his status in Arrow. Whether we admire his audacity or question it, we cannot deny the ingenuity of his approach. I hope this analysis has provided you with a useful insight into the art of anticipating, protecting oneself, and taking advantage of a context. Difficult. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and don't hesitate to support the work.